ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ.
So Surinder Singh ji, very, very happy to be having this conversation with you about symbology, which is an essential feature of our Sikhi. And I'll ask you some questions, and then we'll talk about how these different symbols relate to leadership in our professional lives, in our business lives, etc. So the first one is the symbolic use of Gaur and Singh. You know, we both use Gaur and Singh in our names. Symbolically, what does that represent for you? What does Gaur and Singh represent?
See, when we look into the concept, the complete concept, we have to see the narrative around Sikhs. Like there is a heavy influence of yogic system, Hatha Yoga system. There is a heavy influence or narrative around this new emerging community, is the Hindus and Muslims, and amongst the Muslims, Sufis and Shias and Sunnis, and same way amongst the Hindus, we see the Shiv Mat and Vaishnav Mat. And because we are in the middle of, when it comes to our narrative as a Sikh, then you see the Guru Nanak Ji's approach, or his philosophy is not condemning, but of course, you know, making sure the line is very clear. So introducing Gurumukhi, for example, introducing or working or having conversation, not just discarding and objecting to these people from different faiths. When they bring this new system, Gurumukhi, not Punjabi. I'm not talking about Punjabi here. I'm not talking about Devanagari. I'm not talking about, but in same line, when Guru Angad Sahib is introducing a new shapes to the sound of O or A or E or S, H, which are familiar sounds from Devanagari or Sanskrit or from the Pali, here the new symbol begins, new identity begins, because in the old identity there are crises, and Kaur and Singh defines that. Singh is not a new word which is used in North Indian sector. Rajputs are using this, is a familiar symbol, but in the context the Guru Gobind Singh have introduced this word Kaur and Singh, it brings the community out of that narrative which was created. So it's very, very important, because the division in the community, a popular community or majority, we will call it, was segregated because of the Varna system, the Kshatriya, the Brahmana, Shudra, and Vaishya. And Singh and Kaur was an amazing, I think, amazing social revolution. The symbol just eliminated all of that and empowered the people who were suffering not that equality.
Right. So they both Gurumukhi and the titles of Gaur and Singh, they symbolize equality. Like it was like you used the word empowerment, so it was empowering people, wasn't it? It was creating.
If we look back into studying Sanskrit or Persian, was not everybody's piece of cake, and Guru needed to create this new mental health narrative, empowering people, women and poor, and those outcasted, and all those were denied their human rights. And to do that, Guru had to find a common ground. Gurumukhi was that approach. Not that Guru was objecting to any language. He used Persian, he used Devanagari, Pali, Maithili, all of these languages. He incorporated those words, but his narrative was created in Gurumukhi. It was a sound current. He was in communication and connection with the people. And whoever wanted to be amongst him, he made sure that they make that new approach. So he created this, like, you come into this willingly. And if you want to know my perspective, you need to know this Gurumukhi too. So same thing with, I think that was an amazing step forward to symbolize a new identity of uniformity and empowerment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and accessibility, making it possible for people who were not part of the elite, making it possible for them to learn, to be literate in a very
Yeah. I mean, accessibility was denied, but accessibility would have been, I look at the narrative very differently. Accessibility will be that if Guru used the popular used language of that time and not creating Gurumukhi grid, not that he wanted to make it difficult, but he wanted to make sure the people come in who actually want to empower themselves, who are not followers. The people who are seekers, only those people walk in.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, excellent.
I'm sorry about the background noise.
Yes, in terms of leadership, though, I think it's a perfect example of innovation, isn't it?
Indeed, beautiful, beautiful. Guru's, the whole program, the Guru is introducing is just, from every angle, this narrative is just perfect. How he programmed, how 239 years of public trial of mental health betterment, how he made sure the community thrives, and not only on physical, economical, political sector, but mental and spiritual too. So when we look into his approach, it's an amazing approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, great. Now, I know that you've probably got lots to say about the symbolic use of Ekankar, because you work with sound. So the sound of Ekankar. So it's both the symbology and the sound associated with it. What does that symbolize to you?
That is the symbol for the seekers, the Sikhs of Guru Nanak Sahib, is Ik Onkar. That's where we begin. That is the purpose. That is the core. That is what the Sikh's life revolves around. But when you want to invade and change the concepts amongst the seekers of this community, which became something amazing and powerful from nowhere, now their symbol was changed. When Ranjit Singh came in, he tried to give other symbols. There were a lot of battalions, different symbols, because he, of course, wanted to engrave his power stamp too. When British came in, the swords, the circle, the two-edged sword, the khanda was introduced. Then it became Nishan. The end symbol, the original symbol, Ik Onkar, changed. And with that, the new narrative started, because we were Sagal Jamati, we were the people who were invested in humanity. Suddenly, we became the only a police, a defender, or protector of a sector, and pushed into, through this narrative, into service industry. And since Khanda, you will see that we majorly just served the forces, to protect the borders. And we're not understanding that whole narrative behind this symbol. But the Ik Onkar, that oneness approach, was then very, very, because people were not looking into it, that the oneness approach between your body, your mind, and your soul, how do you create that oneness to become one with the one, was very nicely, beautifully changed into God is one. And that gave us a very conflicting a dialogue. I mean, what Nanak Ji is saying and what is the colonial interpretation of what Nanak Ji is saying, because of this symbolic approach, have created a lot of conflict, and therefore there's a huge segregation. If God was one, then the Guru Nanak Ji would have had no idea or no clue over this concept. He didn't have to create this new narrative. Therefore, you will see Nanak Ji is welcomed throughout different faiths, yogis or Hindus or Muslims or wherever he goes to Mecca. He's welcomed because he's not threatening. He's not saying to people that you are wrong, your path is wrong. He's just creating another line parallel to that. But with this new symbol, there's a new narrative. We go to Gurdwaras, there is Gurmukhi is being turned into Punjabi. I mean, the Gurmukhi was in one line. Before the full stop, there was no separation. Now it's turned into Punjabi thanks to Ernest Trump. In 1950s, he separates the words from Ik Onkar to Satnam. There's no connection between that. And that changes that mechanism of dhyan, the focus, to extract the experience out of that line. And then we go to the Gurdwara and we see it has been now, transliteration has been applied. In English, there are 26 sounds versus 35 of Gurmukhi. How Dada and Ana and Anga will be pronounced. It is not possible. So this is why Guru Nanak Ji created this beautiful narrative of Gurmukhi. To understand Guru Nanak's approach, we must understand, we must look into that, why there was a need of Kaur or Singh, why there was a need for us to create a Dada or Anana or create Dada and Tada. It is a very defined difference. And why not to use the sounds like sh or kha or gha or z, fa and la, these 6 sounds? Why Guru avoided that? I mean, shabd or shama, these words existed in both narrative, Islamic, Arabic, and Hindu, the Devanagari and Sanskrit. But Guru refuses to add those in. There has to be purpose. And I think we are still looking into this concept, Jasbirji, from a very colonial angle, or sometimes Hindu angle, Vedic Sanatani angle, or Islamic approach. We have to look into this symbol of Sikhi, especially Ik Onkar, from the context of Guru Nanak Sahib.
Okay, excellent. So yes, that is, I wasn't aware of that distinction that you've just made of, I've always seen translated the Ik Onkar as being God is one. And, your explanation, I've not heard that before.
If I may share, Ik Onkar, if God is one and his name is a true, and he is the doer, he is a fearless, he has no enemy, then after that, we will have a problem when it comes to Akal Murt, Ajuni, and Sabhang. This will become contradictory here. If Satguru says, Guru Nanak Sahib, in his writing, he says, Kudrat karke vasya soe, then God cannot be one. He's not talking about God here. His narrative, his concept is about the oneness amongst us. Man jeete, jag jeete. But how do we win those realms where the community is being abused by the fear of yogic or Hindu or Muslim approach? And Guru Nanak Ji is creating this new bridge, new narrative of love through Gurumukhi, through his philosophy, and therefore he's keeping away from the concept of God. pushing us more is investing into humanity through the mental health, is creating a new narrative of betterment for the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you've outlined the drawbacks of translating, messages into different languages. So when we use the British approach of like, well, what does that mean? And we translate it into English. They use an approximation in the same way that our names are anglicized, in the same way the concepts are anglicized, and they're interpreted based on the Bible. And from that perspective, from using the lens of the Bible, it's like, well, how can we interpret these sayings based on this paradigm or this lens that we're looking through? So
there's a friend of mine, Dr. Arvind Mandare. He's head of Sikh research and studies in University of Michigan. He used this beautiful word once in conference called borrowed lens. Mm-hmm. We are looking at the Sikhi from a borrowed lens. This is, if it is not a Christian lens, then we are looking at from Vedic lens. Why do we have to go into comparative? We need to see the symbol, the Gurumukhi coming in, Guru Nanak wanted us to start fresh, have a complete different approach. And when I'm having conversation with these specialists, they become a beautiful concept amongst the Sikhs, like we are 5 elements, like we are 5 drivers or 5 senses. Same way the body of Sikh has Udasi, Nirmala, Sahajtari, Sevapanti, and Nihang, these 5 elements, which creates an attitude who serves humanity as a Sikh. But because we looked only from a borrowed vision, now transliteration, and we are going after a convenient route. Not that Gurumukhi is a difficult thing, but we made it. And therefore, a lot of gaps has been created. For example, Nanak Ji is talking in a very different coded manner. Like after Japji, he says, Sodar, Rag, Asa, Mahla, Pehla. Okay, we transliterated everything and we translated everything. Then why didn't we translate Asa? What does that mean? So these gaps has been created on purpose to deviate the mind of a seeker to a different philosophy. And what Christian schools of thought did, I think is amazing, how they embedded without us even knowing. It's beautiful. But for the seeker, it is lethal. It is important for seeker to look into. If we are looking into Vedic system, we have to study Sanskrit, and there are meters. And if we're looking into Sikhi, we need to do the same thing. We can't borrow the vision or borrow the glasses, the lens of Christianity and look Sikhi from that angle.
And this is why it's so important to learn Gurmukhi.
Indeed.
To understand the Gurbani, and rather than simply rely on translations of Gurbani.
Yes, so we need to let go of the convenience or easy or shortcut way. But we see we're living in a culture of McDonald's and drive-through culture. So it is very difficult scenario right at the moment. But to understand the narrative of mental health amongst the humans from Guru Nanak's viewpoint, we have to first begin with Gurumukhi, because it's as it came from the mouth of the Guru, emotionally punctuated, the meaningful wisdom. And if we diffuse that route of Gurumukhi, we will not have access. Through transliteration or translation, we don't even get closer to the concept.
Right. And in terms of leadership, it's about being authentic. It's about remaining true to the core essence of something rather than going, so as leaders, we need to remain committed to the core essence rather than like the convenient
But
version.
leadership has been like, it is an investment, isn't it? When you see Guru Nanak Ji is drawing line between follower and a seeker. So you see the investment into leadership. But if we're going to carry on following, even Guru Nanak, the leadership is not there. Nanak Ji is gone, long gone, 550 years. Physically, that body is not there. Yes, wisdom is. But why do we seek that wisdom? But if we are going to follow, oh, this is what Japji says, not according to Nanak Ji, because we fumble on the very first word, Ik Onkar. When we take the God as one approach, we deviate our whole learning mechanism from a Christian lens. So leadership will not happen there. Then we will become the followers. And the Sikhism will happen, not Sikhi. It will go versus Sikhi, the Sikhism. It will be a colonial interpretation of these people. This community used to thrive, used to be an amazing community. But Sikhi, which is an investment of leadership, how to become a leader, then we must seek. We need to understand how to experience and then bring it into the application, as Nanak Ji very clearly defined in Japji, Manna and Amal. In Japji says, Manna is that when you trust in a concept, and with that trust that what I'm learning, then you put that into an experience. When you take the juice out of it, that is Manna. And once that is clear to you and it becomes your virtue, that is what Amal is. But if we go wrong with Ik Onkar, Satnam, and Kartabru, will go from ism angle, then we won't reach to this narrative. And therefore, the leadership will be lost because followers cannot be leaders. It's just simple as it is. And those leaders which Guru Nanak Ji created as Guru Angad Sahib from Lena, and Guru Angad Sahib created Guru Amar Das Maharaj from a seeker to a leader, that we need to look into that narrative, that philosophy, that how Guru Sahib is invested into these leaders who are the hope for the humanity.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And I suppose in terms of hope for humanity, we as, the seeds of our ancestors, we are the hope for humanity in our professional worlds, in our, whatever world it is, because that's the whole point of Sikhi, isn't it? To express it in our, okay. So now let me ask you about the dastar, the bag, the turban, because I think this is an important symbol to talk about, because there are so many people who, those of us who live in the Western world, we know that there are so many kind of interpretations or misinterpretations, especially in the current contemporary environment, where people associate the star with terrorism, for example, because they might have seen some terrorists who wore turbans which look similar to this. So what does it symbolize to us, and how can we convey like the symbolic meaning of this to
the star for me is like, I look into the origin of it. It is something which was introduced by Egypt 2000 BC, and with the Ottoman Empire, the red hat came in after that. Before that, it was the star. From Persia to Afghanistan to all this Khurasan approach, where yogic approach in India used to have a case, just Judah on their head. And of course, it was just a piece of cloth used to prevent a heat stroke, preserve energy, and it got utilized. And we need to see the narrative around Guru's times. The Mughals, Turks, they used to wear turban. It was part of their uniform. And from the warfare angle, Guru introducing this from a yogic angle also to preserve the energy scientific angle, Guru introduced to this. But Sikh and turban, this outer shell, it was the need of the time. It is a need of time. But the collisions, I mean, when you have to prove yourself to an illiterate person, Guru says, Murkha nal na lujiye, the one who still need an education. That there used to be a person with a turban who was a prime minister of India for 10 years, very well respected. If this person doesn't even know the difference between a human and a terrorist, and a turban becomes a symbol of terrorism, this is just an excuse. Is a problem and insecurity of it is individual crisis. It's got nothing to do with Islam, Sikhs, or Hindus. So I see turban from a very different angle. I see it is a shared culture from Egypt, ancient Egypt, till Guru Gobind Singh Ji's court, and today we see how things are evolving. You see the Guru saying, live naturally, people will cut their hair, but still wear the turban. And where does that fit together? If you tell them, if you ask them, who are you? They will say Sikhs, but they're not really, basically, they don't follow what makes them Sikhs. They inherited this outfit, and they label that as a Sikh. And when some incidents happen, then the finger is not pointed toward Sikhi. Finger is pointed toward the difference that the turban brings. And again, we have to see that we are living in a West, and the people in power would like us to join them. So the turban will come in. Your outfit, you're wearing suit or sari, your different food will come in between the culture. So our kids getting bullied because, and being saying, you smell of curry and this, there will always be something. Color to your turban. I don't see a turban as a symbol. I see a turban as a tool used by the Sikhs when it comes to war, or when it comes to the internal churning, as a tool of meditation or becoming meditation to preserve the physical energy, mental energy. The turban was used in a particular way, and Guru's Sikhs carried on sharing those wisdoms. And of course, I believe that you cannot, turban symbolized the literacy level. The person with the turban is an educated. I remember till 1970s, 80s, still it was, if there's a turban on your head, then it means you can read and write, So people will approach me when the letter will come from England or from different part, and Kaka, can you read this? And I will ask them, why you approach me. He said, you have a turban on your head. I said, Bibi, but what does this mean? It doesn't give you my degree. She said, the turban means to us that you are padhya likhya, Sikh. Not Sikh in a religious context. Here you are learned, and therefore you can read this. So with culture, with the time, narrative will change. Yes, the turban is used in Afghanistan. Yes, turban is used in Iran. Yes, but it is on those individuals to understand who is Persian and who's Afghani, who is Indian, who is a Sikh, who is a Hindu. We need to invest in education rather than saying that this will carry on. This will, till the end of the age, this is have to happen, because it's a part of human nature. And we can't go defensive over this.
Yeah, that's really interesting, the example you've given of, in the Punjab, somebody for whom the bag symbolized education. I've not heard that example before. Thank you very much for sharing that. It's very interesting. So let's talk about the Nishan Sahib then. So what does that symbolize, the Nishan Sahib?
Nishan, especially, coming into power from the Guru Gobind Singh's time, different, especially after 1699, when there are 5 brigades are operating under Bhai Daya Singh, Bhai Dharam Singh, Bhai Mokham Singh, Bhai Sahib Singh, Bhai Himmat Singh. Their different nishans are there. And we see then missiles, 12 different nishans they carry. We see in the Red Cross, Bhai Kanhaiya's institute carry different nishan, so that even enemies understand that this is, in a modern term, is a Red Cross. It's here to help the wounded, so they won't attack them or they won't invite them for fight. But nishan, when you see Ranjit Singh's time, amongst the 6, it's the same 6. You see a Qatar, you see a symbol of Tal, and you see a Kripan. Sometimes you see the Shakti signs on a different colors. But British coming in and saying, oh, we need to unite you guys under one. Then new symbol, new colors appears. But Nishan meant that you can come here for help. This is an institution, this is a dharamsal, where if you need help, any sort of help, you need clothes, you need food, you need shelter, or you need policing in any way. So we are here to support you, and this is 24/7. So look at the Nishan and come in if you need help. And that's how it was used. And now its use is different because things evolved, So you see, before 1984, the color of Nishan Sahib was different. And suddenly, overnight, everything changed. Now it's a saffron.
What color was it before 1984?
It was a yellow and a lot of blue. We will see especially in the Majha sector, a lot of blue nishans, and it was what we call a pila. The yellow color was used. Basanti color was the nishan.
And why was it changed to saffron?
The narrative is written by the new occupation, which is with the Hindu mindset, because it's what we call pagava, so saffron, the saffron is the dominating or main color of the ruling mindset, the people behind the what we call a think tank. It is a saffron, and it's their stamp, it's their victory, it is their mark on the territory that we invaded and we captured.
I see. So is it like a form of colonization then?
It is. Yeah, what we'll call nationalism now, or we hear these words RSS everywhere. They're not in the front line, they are the policy makers. They will make sure the line here, the word here is changed, the color here is changed, like for example, the British introducing Gatra and colors. It was British, black and blue and white and yellow. So they know who's a hardliner, who's going where. It was their way to create a symbol, but creating a Gatra around was not part of it was not, the Sikh used to be like that. The kirpan, small little kirpan, used to be carried in kamar kasa. So with that, the kamar kasa concept came out too, replaced by the belt. And therefore the whole uniform changed amongst the people too. Bana, what we call, is changed. The language is changed, narrative is changed, therefore culture is evolving. And now the same thing is happening. Is what the East India Company or the British Empire did. Now the Hindu Empire is doing the same thing. it is inevitable. If we were there, we will be doing probably similar sort of thing as a political regime.
Yes, it's to do with hegemony. It's the dominant culture will find ways to either, well, they will coerce and gain consent.
I was amazed. Ranjit Singh and his court was saying, if you want to come and work in Punjab, then there was ethics, which they called ethics, or rules or codes were introduced that you have to wear turban and you have to have full beard and uncut hair. So the people from France or other countries went to serve, they were Sabat Surat. So we do see the dominant community or the ruler there, they will influence things. And Pagwa is the same sort of thing. Nishan's color changing is the same thing. And we got conquered in 84. We on many different frontier, we lost the war, and therefore it's their marker.
And the thing is that people like myself don't even know. We don't even realize. You've told me this thing, and I didn't even know what color the Nishan Sab was before 1984. So this is how it works. It works with the majority, the masses remain in ignorance. They don't even know what's going on around them.
See, if we knew, if everybody on this level knew, and then there won't be a change. Right? They won't be able to implement. First, they had to prepare us that it is okay. And it's a very subtle thing. And we are not supposed to know this unless we are looking into it. So what these people did, it changed the way we look into things. They created new meanings. So Dilruba from our shoulders, it disappeared without we noticing. It's a Guru Gobind Singh's instrument, created in 1699, and in 1919, suddenly people are focused toward Jallianwala Bagh, or what is happening, hoo-ha is happening in Lahore and Sri Amritsar, and suddenly harmoniums are pushed into Darbar Sahib, which is the center stage for the Sikhs. And nobody noticed, or nobody had a time to question that, because there was a bigger narrative was created. Now, what was the need of the massacre of Jallianwala Bagh? If you see politically, what was the need? Nothing. But we just look at that, but we don't see what other things they changed under the shadow of that. So that's a political regimes, they use those sort of things. If we know where things went wrong or where things got changed, we will not let that change happen. So let's not feel bad that we didn't know about this. They, being in a power and authority, they made sure we don't find out for centuries. And thing is, through these conferences, through these dialogues, it is important and crucial for us to, this is where we are making the U-turn. Let's not look into changing things. Let's look into first finding. If we don't diagnose, we cannot heal anything. So jump into conclusion is, I think that's been lethal and fatal for us. It is important for us to first diagnose the problem, and I see it, the entire system, our symbols have been removed. Ik Oankar has been replaced with something else, and that creates a different narrative that gives birth to Sikhism, which we have nothing to do with. We are the Sikhs. Our narrative was created by Guru Nanak Sahib, the philosophy and human psyche. That's the finest combination you will ever see. Psychologist in West, that's a 200-year-old philosophy or system. And Guru Nanak Ji gave much incredible, impactful program to humanity 550 years ago. It was not to serve Hindus or Muslim, it was to serve humanity so that no human suffers. They live in harmony. But once, if you want to rule somebody, you must take their power away. And Guru Nanak is empowering people. Therefore, his philosophy has to go. So Ik Onkar was removed and replaced with God is one. And then there is a khanda given, which, of course, it is a stamp of militancy. It makes us the only warriors. And Sant is removed from the front of Sipahi. So narrative is a new narrative, which is not old. 1850 onwards, they started changing this narrative. And we just need to look into it, diagnose where the changes has been happened, and look deeply so that we find the resolution that how do we restore so that it cannot get corrupted again with that awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, we need to go back to the roots in order to diagnose where the rot is.
Of course.
Okay, so let me finally ask you about the symbolism of Guru Gobind Singh Ji with his horse and falcon. What does that symbolize for you?
And, we hear these things from the stories, but it was just a call, or, when you need to create a revolution, you need to create a stir too with it. When people were deprived from that, they cannot climb the horse, they cannot keep the weapons, they cannot keep a turban on their head, the women are not having equal power, they cannot keep falcons, eagles, it's unless they are royalty. And Guru says, Manas ki jaat sab hai, ek hai pehchan bo. For me, everybody is equal, because you have more money doesn't give you any different rights. So Guru will go for hunting, Guru will keep weapon, Guru will horse ride, and Guru Sikhs, and Guru will keep these royal symbols. It was just sending a message that your oppression, your bullying is not accepted, at least not here, and we will fight in every way to send this subliminal message, this open message, this, have a conversation with you. And even we have to fight with you in a battlefield, we will do that for the human rights, not to establish our kingship or our rule, but for human rights. The humanity must not be bullied. And this is the Guru Sahib having forts built, Guru Sahib having eagle, Guru Sahib having a horse, Guru Sahib having weapons and army, all represent one thing, and that is that no more we put up with the nonsense of segregation and oppression.
Absolutely. And so I suppose, so riding a horse was an act of rebellion in a way. It's like saying, because as you say, at that time, only royalty, you had to be in positions of power to be able to ride a horse. And it's like, well, no, we're going to do it as well.
In those days, it was so bad that you could not wear a shoe at the front of the house of Brahman. It was not just Mughals, the royalty. It was attacked. It was happening from both ends. You see Guru's wars, Guru Gobind Singh's fights is with very Brahmanic, those who are very set in their way, that this Guru is empowering Dalits, or this Guru is empowering those they know as a Shudra, have no right to read or even wear the shoes, and he's giving them weapons, he's empowering them, he's giving them horses. So the war was more on the status, and Guru won.
Yeah. So symbolically, the falcon and the horse, they they represent freedom and you know the triumph against.
I just see the Guru very much. It was part of warfare. It was a messaging. It was provoking, of course, indeed. It was sending a very strong signal. That was the only purpose of it, you know. So Guru making his community, the people who suffered, aware that, hey, don't be afraid. This is okay to do. So empowering his own people and sending a message to the kings of the hills or the emperor that this is okay. Hey, this is not a big deal. Let people live the way they want to live.
Mm-hmm. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for a fascinating discussion.
Thank you.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki
Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to meeting soon.
Okay, yes, brilliant.
Waheguru,